Welcome, fellow equestrians. Today we're going to be talking about one of the most exhilarating and sometimes the most terrifying experiences you can have on a horse, and that is cantering. And I'll be sharing some essential tips to help you end up on the more exhilarating side of the equation. And we're going to focus on not only building your horse's confidence, but building your confidence as well so that you both know exactly what to expect. And for you experienced riders out there, stay tuned because there's something special here for you as well. So saddle up, screw yourself down, and let's get started. I'm Steve Andrews, and this is The Natural Horseman. Now, I can't stress this enough. When you start to learn how to ride the canter, especially if you're new to it, I highly recommend starting with a nice horse, okay, one that can teach you along the way. So borrow one from a friend, or even better, find yourself an instructor who has a nice lesson horse, a coach, somebody who can help you out, and a horse that can help you out. One of the first exercises I like to have people do who are learning how to canter is how to just walk nicely on their horse. And by walk, I don't mean putzing around, because if we're going really slow, you're not going to have much of a sense of direction. So can you just walk around on your horse and see if you can get a nice big walk? And what you're going to be able to do with this big walk is start to feel the back legs, or the back legs causing the barrel to swing left and right, left and right. And that barrel swing that you're feeling is actually the back feet moving, okay? So it's really going to allow you to get a feel for the horse's back feet. And that's important if you want to really start learning how to canter. So for this first exercise, see if you can just walk a circle on your horse, or you can walk the rail, it doesn't matter. But just walk a big circle or walk the rail and see if you can almost let your legs just hang loose and really get a feel for that barrel swing. So when that barrel swings your leg in to the left, or swings your left leg in, I guess, to the right, what you're feeling is that left hind leg coming up off the ground and then stepping down. And when the right side sucks your leg, it almost sucks your leg right into the horse. When that right side sucks your leg in and swings the barrel to the left, that's that right hind coming up off the ground and then stepping down. So you can really get in time with your horse's legs, and you can really start to feel that. And once you can start to feel that barrel swing, you can start asking for a bigger step. And I always tell my students, if you're not trotting, you're not trying. We're really trying to get a big stride here. So with that barrel swing, you can almost lift that inside leg up. I say inside leg, you can really lift both of his back legs up, and step him forward into a bigger walk. So again, if you're not trotting, you're not trying. So as he trots, I'm going to break him back down to a walk, and let's see if I can get that. There he goes, that nice big walk, by using that barrel swing to assist in my communicating with the horse. Another thing that you're going to need is body control. Okay, so if we don't have any communication or any sense of direction with our horse, when we start to canter, you're just going to be out of control, and that can be really scary. It's a bad way to learn. Okay, so I always like to say, you need a backup plan. So unfortunately, we've kind of gotten lost in this natural horsemanship world, and that we say that everything should be done with just your legs. Okay, that's kind of right. But the biggest part that's missing is when you do that, you don't have a backup plan, okay? So your horse needs to understand how to operate off the reins separate from operating off your legs. So you can use your body to direct first, but then you can use your reins as a backup plan. And if your horse doesn't understand that reins connect to his back feet, whether you're stopping, going, or turning, then you don't really have much of a backup plan at all. So if I were to shape a horse up for a lead, a left lead or a right lead in the canter, and my body positioning doesn't work and he doesn't respond to it, then I need something that he will respond to. And that's the same for stopping. So can I pick my rein up and have him shift his hindquarters over? Okay, you need to be able to do that on a horse, especially if you're planning on cantering, can you shift the hindquarters over? All right, and that's just off a rein. We haven't used our legs yet. Can you step the front quarters over? They just need to go a little bit, and see if you can do that off the rein. Okay, so you have some direction. There you go. So you have some direction, and your horse has some understanding of what they're supposed to do when it comes time to canter. Again, you do not want to be out of control when you're learning how to do this. Next, your horse also needs to be able to stop and go backwards. So if you activate the reins, free of your legs, right? You don't cheat and use legs. So you can get your horse to go backwards with just your reins. And then you can start adding your leg cues. Can you move the hindquarters with your legs? Can you park the hindquarters with your legs and turn the front end? Can you park the hindquarters with your legs and turn the front end? Can you use your legs to go backwards? All these things. You need to have a backup plan, which is your reins, for when your body isn't getting through to the horse. So another thing you're going to need to understand is how to help the horse balance comfortably in order to canter, whether it's on a left lead or a right lead, and we'll get to that in a little bit. But to understand the biomechanics of the canter, just a really simple version of this is you want the nose either straight or in the direction that you're going to be traveling. So if I'm going to be on a left lead, I want the nose tipped slightly to the left, and I want the shoulders almost swinging just slightly to the outside, to the right, okay? And that little bit of shoulder swinging to the outside or to the right is going to allow for the hips to engage and for your horse to balance. All right, so it's very important to understand that. So if I can step him off and come towards you, can I get his nose to go left a little bit and his shoulders to swing to the right? Okay, it can just be that simple. And you can set that up in motion too. So as I'm walking, doing my warm-up, can I get him on a circle to where he's balanced on the circle, meaning his nose is slightly to the left, his shoulders are slightly to the right, which will put his hips slightly to the left. Okay, I call that nose in, shoulder out, hip in. Say that through your head as you're warming your horse up. Can he travel with his nose in, his shoulder out, and his hip in? Nose in, shoulder out, hip in. Nose in, shoulder out, hip in. And also keep in mind, we go in that order when we're talking to the 5 communication zones. Nose, then the neck, then the shoulder, then the ribs, then the hip. Are all those parts of your horse set up? So as you're doing your walking warm-up, you're getting your barrel swing, you're looking for your big step in the hindquarters. Can you keep your horse's shape? Okay? What I mean is, if I'm walking a circle to the left, he should be in the shape of that circle. I want to keep his shape and take my left leg and ride it into my right leg and see if I can elevate him into a trot. All right? And once he's trotting, if you're just figuring out how to do this, just take a few strides, settle down in your seat, and bring your horse back to a walk, okay? Now, we talked about having a backup plan. If you settle down in your seat and your horse doesn't slow down, well, now it's time to use your backup plan and draw your reins back nice and slow until you influence their feet to slow down to the walk. And if you're, again, learning how to canter, you're really going to want that horse to have a strong stop, okay? Because there's a good chance you're going to lose balance, right? So you might be tipping around or something, and that's going to cause your reins to come back. And you want that horse to stop. If you come off balance, if you start to tip and your reins just touch, you want that horse to hit the brakes, all right? That's going to keep you safe. So, again, make sure you're learning this if you're a green rider on an experienced horse. All right, you don't want a green rider on a green horse because you're going to end up black and blue. So, big walk on a circle. It doesn't matter which direction. You can do left or right. Big walk on a circle. With your left leg, if you're going to the left, slowly apply pressure with just that one leg. Ride him into your outside leg, your right leg, and then release into a trot. And that's going to help you maintain that shape. And the important part about that is the nose in, shoulder out, hip in shape to the left is setting my horse up to be balanced properly for a left lead. And that balance is really important, because without that proper balance, your horse is going to be counterflexed, their back's going to be tight, and your ride is going to be bouncy and uncomfortable. If you're learning how to canter, if you're learning how to ride, even, bouncing and uncomfortable is not something that you want. So practice that 1,000 times. Take your left leg, make sure your horse can hold his shape, ride into your right leg. When he starts to trot, release both legs. Release into that trot for that nice smooth transition. Release into the trot is the key word. So I'm going to take him through the center. We'll change directions, do it to the right. Now, as you're doing your 1,000 repetitions of transitions, and of course you're not going to do that in a day, I would hope, you're also going to be really disciplined, and this part's important too, be really disciplined about your pattern. And if you're just learning, I would recommend a medium-sized circle, like what Romeo's helping me with here. So I want you to be disciplined about your circle, because if you teach your horse to lock onto this pattern, if things were to get a little out of control or a little fast or a little uncomfortable, at least you have some sort of control, right? At least you're on a circle and your horse is not gonna attempt to go anywhere that he shouldn't. So if you were to get excited and to take off on me and I lose all control and I start flopping around, at least your horse is locked onto a pattern, okay? So when you start tipping and then you hit the rein because you've done it 1,000 times, he's gonna stop. But having your horse on that pattern really could save you. Now, before we start thinking about cantering, I just want to reiterate, make sure your stop is really good, both off of your reins and off of your seat. And if you need help with that, I have an amazing video. It's called How to Stop Your Horse. Stopping's not just for reiners. All right, I'm going to post a link down in the description below for you. Definitely check that video out and get your horse stopping really well, because the last thing you want is you to lose balance a little bit and tip off the side of your horse because your horse didn't stop and you started losing your balance. All right, you want that horse to stop. Second, when you do start to canter, what I want you to do is just canter a few strides. Canter half of your circle and then come back down to a trot. Okay, so if you do that 1,000 times, you canter half a lap, then you trot until you're comfortable, then you canter half a lap, then you trot till you're comfortable. If you do that, you'll be cantering around in no time like you've been doing it all along. But you have to be disciplined to take the time and do all those reps, all those transitions. Now, to go into the canter, I don't really want to change anything up on you. Okay, you've done 1,000 reps a very particular way where you've walked, you rode into your outside hind, you've released into the trot. I'm going to have you actually do the same thing. The only difference is I'm going to have you change your weight and your posture a little bit. So we're going to the right. What I want you to do is take your hand that's on the inside of your circle, your right hand, and put it on the reins. I want you to take your left hand and you're going to reach back towards his hip. It's going to turn you like this. And that's going to do 3 things for you. Good boy, not yet. That's going to do 3 things for you. It's going to attach your right hand to his right front. It's going to attach your left hand to his left hind. And he needs to drive off of his left hind in order to canter, and he needs to push off of his right front. Okay, and that's cantering to the right for a right lead. So I'm going to have you put yourself in the shape of a right lead. The other thing it does is it shifts your weight backwards. And in order for a horse to canter, they need to shift their weight backwards so that they have 60% of their weight on their hindquarters. So I'm going to have you, as you're learning, with your right hand reach towards the ear. With your left hand, you're going to reach towards the hip. He's already trying to go. Then if you need your legs to ask for the forward, you're going to do the same thing you did at the trot. Ride your inside leg in to your outside leg, let your outside leg catch your horse, and then take you up into that next gate when you'll release your legs. So let's put that together. I'm going to reach towards his right ear, reach back with my left towards his hip, ride his ribs to the left into my left leg, and release. You're going to go half a circle. I know I've gone farther than that. You're going to take your right leg, ride it into your left leg, and sit a little heavier, draw back until your horse trots. And here's what it's going to look like in real time. You'll reach, go into the canter, half a lap, sit heavy, draw if you have to, and trot. And you'll do it again when you're comfortable. You'll reach, go into the canter, ride half a lap, sit heavy and draw, or ride the inside to the outside and draw, and come down to the trot. And do that 1,000 times. Reach, ride the inside to the outside, release, ride half a lap, ride the inside to the outside, sit heavy, and draw. Okay, just do that. And I'm not kidding, 1,000 times. Not in one day, of course, but do it over and over again, each direction. So I'm not going to have you ride like that forever. Once you have this working, right, you can move your arms a little bit. I encourage you to move your arms, because moving your arms is going to allow your hips to loosen up. And if your hips are loose and not tight, you won't bounce. Okay, so allow your hips just to move naturally with your arms. Get your arms really moving as you're practicing this. And once you feel comfortable with all that, I'm going to have you change just one more thing, okay? So what I'm going to have you do next, instead of reaching towards the ear and twisting yourself, I'm going to have you line your shoulders up with your horse's shoulders. Okay, so on this left circle, his shoulders are going to the left. So I'm going to line my shoulders up with his. I'm going to line my eyes up out ahead where I'm going. And I'm not going to lean back this time. I'm just going to shift my weight back into the outside leg a little bit. So that weight shift is going to keep me more balanced, and it's going to keep my horse more balanced. So I have him shaped on the circle. I'm balanced. I'm going to shift my weight back into the outside a little bit, and then we're going to canter together nice and balanced. And you'll notice that your ride's going to be a little bit more smooth here because you're riding a little more balanced. Your hips and your shoulders are in line with the horse's shoulders. And if you're looking out ahead where you're going, you're always going to be in the right posture to be balanced with your horse. Now, to reiterate, reaching towards the ear and towards the hip is just going to get your body doing the right things. It's going to get your weight in the right place. It's going to attach the correct hand to the correct foot. That's really what that does. As you start to improve and balance, we're going to start to balance with the horse more. So as we start to work on the canter to the right, line my shoulders up with his, I look out ahead where I'm going, about a quarter of the way ahead of me on the circle. I'm going to shift my weight to the outside. I'm not leaning this time, I'm just shifting my weight to the outside and back. And then I'm going to see if I can keep my shoulders in line with his, my eyes looking out. You'll notice that helps him balance a little bit better. Okay? And because I've already taken the time to loosen my seat up, I'm not bouncing all over. And he stops it like he should when I start bouncing, because he does teach people this. But I'm not bouncing all over because I've loosened my body up and I've gotten myself in the right position. Now for that upward transition, as you start to improve, see if you can start with two hands if you want, but see if you can go from your walk, ride them into your left, and then shift your weight back and see if you can get a canter departure out of that walk. So to start wrapping things up here, I just want to go over a few things. So this last step of learning how to canter, I really want you to be aware of how you're asking for it, okay? So you've noticed I've said this a bunch of times already, but I want to make sure I'm using my inside leg to ride him into my outside leg. And that's important because what that's going to really teach my horse and teach you is to maintain that proper balance into the canter. And that proper balance is important because it's going to make your ride smoother and it's going to make his life easier. He'll just be more emotionally collected for you. So I'm going to ride my inside leg into my outside leg and then see if we can release into that canter. Okay, releasing means you open up and you allow that horse to go. Help it, cause it to feel good for him and for you. And then same thing for the downward transition. Take my inside leg so that he maintains shape, ride it into my outside leg, and then sit down, draw, and release into that trot. Okay? Again, do that 1,000 times, and you're going to be feeling really good about your cantering. Now, if you're starting to feel pretty good about yourself, and you really want to test things out or take things to the next level, see if you can start to soften your aids, okay, or get them to where they're almost invisible. So if we're trotting around and he's nice and balanced on the circle, what if without anybody seeing, I shift my weight back and I reach towards his left ear? Will your horse take that lead? Okay. Now if they don't take that lead, of course you already have a backup plan, right? You shape them up with the reins, you ride your inside to the outside, and then you squeeze and then you release into that next gate. So today we really talked about a lot of things, and that should give you about a month's worth of homework to go through. We talked about attaching to the reins to the back feet for your body control. We talked about separating your legs from your reins. We talked about establishing patterns. We talked about how to do your upward and your downward transitions. Really establishing a strong stop. Make sure you have all those things working before you start to canter. And don't be afraid to look goofy for a while. When you're reaching back like this and kind of getting yourself going, that's okay. It's going to loosen your body up. You're going to have fun with it, okay? Do that both directions. Really loosen your body up. And then you can start to shape up. And when you start to shape up and balance, your body's still going to be loose. You're not going to be super stiff or bouncing around, okay? So go through that process. Feel awkward, and that's okay. You're going to have to go through it to get there, okay? Now, I really hope that this video gave you some valuable insight in how to approach the canter. And of course, there's so much more to it, but this is just really going to get you off to a really strong start and really build your confidence up and being able to canter and ride out wherever you want to go. So if that was helpful, please hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment down below, and I will see you next time.
Yeah, oh my Lord, watch me sway. Darkness falls and we all pray, hoping for